Who are we most excited to draft this year? That and more this week with Out in Space. As a show note, our background has been updated. It occurred to me that there was a little bit of maneuvering that needed to have happen. So courtesy of the Hubble, we have the Ultra Deep Field behind us. It's located in the Fornax constellation. And with that, Thomas, you have absolutely had a run of success in the last, 7 years? What's your special sauce?
Kendall, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Very appreciative of RNG, also known as the random number generator. Rest of the league, I'm sorry, you're probably going to hear my voice on 2 separate mediums span of 5 days. So maybe it's a little much, but blame the machine, not me. So joy to be here, Kendall. First episode was great. Got to give you and Graham kudos there. Recent run of success, dude. It's just about getting better every year, right? It's doing the little things, making sure, to your point, I mean, for me, knowing what you're good at, activity, but doing things in a smart way, backed by both intuition and research, right? Day in and day out, I think is important. Stacking good decisions on top of each other, staying in your pocket, right? Not getting too emotional. And also just playing a good social game. I think that's really, really important for me personally, being in good standing with everyone in the league, supporting them, empathizing with them, validating their situation. I think it makes for a much more open forum. And if you have league mates that are open to talk to you, generally you guys can have some chemistry when it comes to potentially making moves together. So education, emotional monitoring, and then also good social standing with the league, I would say.
Well, that's beautiful. That number 2-1, I can't relate to whatsoever. That's one of those things that I still struggle with mightily to this day. As you know, we could call out lots of different examples, but last year's draft, just every other day in the text chat or in the group chat, there's a lot in my game that can be reflected in yours, or not in yours, in the opposite way. But we'll just keep it moving. Family.
Wait, can I say one thing real quick?
Absolutely.
I forgot to add, get lucky in really good moments. All right. So not ashamed to say you have to get lucky in critical moments. And I'd like to think that there's an element of creating your own luck. I think we're going to touch on that a little bit later, but owning it. I think luck is important, and it's not all just based on your own ability or your roster construction or management skills. So thank you, luck.
Yes. The fantasy football gods, they will get theirs one way or the other. Family, Thomas, we can kind of look at our relationship as a family relationship. We might be able to go back as far as September 2004. I don't know exactly where I got that September date from, but what I do know is that we've been friends for 21 years. I checked the Instagram post where we threw up the X for the decade, and it's been 11 years since. Family, friendship. Thomas, what you got?
Yeah, well, throwing up the X, I still remember that. That was Santa Ana night out in the bars, or up in Brendan's area. I think Brendan was out of town or something. I forget why we were out there, but still remember that to this day. September 2004, I would say bump that back to the summer going into 9th grade. That's when I first met you, right? So that would be 2003, I believe, probably August 2003,
right.
Which would be the freshman year basketball camp, I think.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't hit it off necessarily because we were balling and whatnot, but I do remember meeting you. And so I think that's the official start. And I think that gave you a big sort of segue with the friend group in sort of keeping some general interests that are aligned, basketball, and we kind of hit it off from there. But yeah, it's been a unique, I think, friendship that we've been able to cultivate and carve out throughout the years. And I think as we get older, it continues to evolve in ways that I think sort of fit our lifestyle and just the time of life. And I'm appreciative that it's been able to evolve as crazy as all of our surroundings have been, and how different life is now as opposed to when it was easy and we didn't have much responsibility on our plates.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with that basketball camp one. That was for sure. I was thinking about that in the shower before this call. And the biggest thing I remember from that camp was Mark Richards insisting that I try to dunk as hard as I could, despite the fact that I could barely touch the rim. And
that was when
really,
Mark Richards was like, he basically
yeah,
lives where your background is, dude. Back then, he was like an alien.
yeah,
He was like, in sixth grade, I think he was looking like he was a full-blown man. Should have been
yeah.
rocking it at University of Arizona or something like that. So yeah, freshman year, he was still in his alien form. So he would ask you to do that.
Yeah, and like I said, I grazed the bottom just a little millimeter of that rim the best I could, and thought that I was just giving Coach Johnson a gift.
I remember, dude, you like the little scooping up,
Scoop.
boom, the scooping up. You rocked that for a couple years. So I still
Oh,
remember
it's still in the bag. Trust me, it doesn't go away.
the Kindle dunk package.
Oh, it's a scary, scary thing. Hopefully, not a scary, scary thing this year to the Chargers. Although we've already had our scary season start early on us. Do we trust our coaches? Do we trust our team? Let's start off with Jimothy Harbaugh himself. What's your take on our head coach this year, Tom?
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
And that's honestly, as a Chargers fan, like it's rare to say that. I mean, I haven't felt that way in much of my adult life, right?
Yep.
You know, the guy is a winner. He's won everywhere he's been. Last year, we definitely overperformed. Easy schedule, right? Some cupcakes, but nonetheless, people thought we'd be, middling 500, under 500 at best. Obviously, he turned that ship around. But more than anything, I think it's just like the culture. It's the expectation to win, right? Competitors welcome. It's this mindset. And I think he's instilled it in the entire community. All the Chargers fans feel it's sort of a change in the wind. And so, yeah, I mean, Jim Harbaugh, trust 100%. Like, if you're a Chargers fan, you don't have an option but to trust him, right? Hey, he left all of his not trustworthy behavior back in Michigan. They can deal with that. Now he's with the Chargers, and now we trust him implicitly. So, yeah, 100% in on Jim Harbaugh as the leader of men.
Yeah, gotta love it. I really appreciate that he left that behind us. I think it's probably not crazy to say that most fans, myself included, are pretty skeptical with our OC, Greg Roman, and kind of fanboying for Jesse Minter. Are you on the same page with those two guys, or do you have a different take?
No, I mean, yeah, I'm fanboying over Jesse Minter for sure. I think to make Greg Roman the scapegoat would be a mistake. I think you have to look at the top of the tree, right? And if you're trusting Jim Harbaugh and the organization, then you have to trust Greg Roman. Because if you're not, then you basically are saying you don't trust Jim Harbaugh. And that's the guy that wants to lead his offense, that wants to create an offensive identity. Then you got to believe in it, right? Until we have a reason to be let down by the coaching staff, by leadership, then we got to go for it. I mean, like I said, it's a big identity shift, culture shift. The way that Greg Roman runs his offense is kind of in line with how Jim wants to create the identity of this football team, right? So I'm hopeful that year 2, with some extra pieces around, a healthy Herbert, are going to make for a more imaginative offense to start the season. I think last year there was a bit of Greg Roman fatigue given his experience, and then moving on to the Chargers, right? We saw that initial go was pretty tough on the eyes, the way they ran the offense, a lot of running, not much Herbie. But we have to remember Herbert was hurt almost the entire first half of the season. He was very limited. And the second half of the season, their offense became a lot more functional, a lot more pass heavy. And this year we got 2 great backs. They're going to cook up that it's all about the play action. And once we get that play action cooking up, Herbie's going to be doing chef things out there. So I'm going to trust Greg Roman. I'm going to trust the vision of the coaching staff until I have reason to not. Jesse Minter, sold 100%. Body of work speaks for itself. He basically, made curry last year with, some beans and tortillas and cheese, which doesn't make sense, but he managed to do it. I just chefed it up without the pieces that were required. This year, I mean, he just looks like a genius. We got defensive tackles dropping in scheme coverage and picking off QBs in the preseason, and I think we got good things ahead of us on the defensive side of the ball this year.
Oh yes, and just a little note on that chef bit. We have Chef Ortiz in the background cooking as well.
Let him cook.
stirring the pot, letting those back guys on the roster do their thing. And I think I've been dropping the depth bit in our group chat as much as I can, and I'm excited for that depth. Not that I know anything about it, but it is absolutely something that gets me excited.
And you don't have to be fair. I think that's one thing.
Yeah.
You can be a diehard fan. Listen, you're a father of two, got a million things going on. Like, we already pour enough into football. You can love a team, love everything got going on, and not know how to name their 53-man roster, let alone 95 guys in the preseason team. So that's okay.
Yeah. Well, of those 95 guys, I'm probably more interested in our running back situation, right? So we got Amarian Hampton, who most people think is a stud. My sources say he's more of maybe a lukewarm type of guy. But Najee's eye situation has me pretty worried. Is that something that you're worried about?
No, I'm not worried about Najee's eye.
Okay.
At least as far as its long-term impact on him mixing in. If I thought that there was some trepidation from, I don't know, the team that he's not going to be able to compete at a high level this year at all, I would be concerned. I wouldn't want – I mean, I was excited about the Najee signing. I know a lot of people, don't think it's very sexy, but you have to remember that in Pittsburgh, like, they weren't a very good offense, and they weren't very imaginative either, right? And so I think he's always ran hard. He gets better as the season goes on, and we need those kind of guys. That's exactly what we're trying to build offensively. And so because of that, I think it's almost going to be a blessing in disguise with Amarian getting those first-team reps all throughout training camp. And even if Najee starts slow first couple weeks, as long as he gets integrated and gets going, I'm going to be happy about what we got in the backfield.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I was hoping that Najee's eye would have been the big story this offseason. And it is nice to see that he's taking, frontal Instagram pictures. He can't open his right eye, but I think like a day or two ago.
I think he's just come back. I know,
as always. And so having him back in practice is a very good sign.
Yeah.
And so on the rookie note with Amarian Hampton, I'm just going to run through the rest of our rookies. Yeah. And if there's anything you want to call out or talk about, then we can take it from there. So we've got our second round pick, Trey Harris. We've got Jamari Caldwell, KLS, Rondi Gadsden, Branson Taylor, the guard, RJ Mickens, and Triquez Bridges. Any of those guys, anything to talk about?
I mean, a lot of this is sort of like a nuts and bolts Chargers fandom here, right? But I mean, just between you and I, obviously, we got a lot to be excited about with our two rookie wide receivers with Harris and KLS. Harris coming out of college was world-known man beater, right?
Yep.
And I guess he's had a little bit of a slow start, but he's really been coming on lately. KLS, obviously, just this surprise starlet that apparently has a really good connection with Herbert. So that's got us really juiced. I think Herbert shockingly, Herbert played in a preseason game for the first time and had a really nice sideline fade to KLS. And he basically told reporters, get used to that. There's more of that.
Yes.
So that's got me fired up. Obviously, Q goes down with the concussion. Probably won't be a long-term thing, but you never know. Hey, Quentin Johnson not playing, not the saddest thing in the world as a Chargers fan, but I'm rooting for him. He did make strides last year. Something to keep an eye on, this Gadsden dude. Everything at camp is that he's the first one in, last one out, incredibly athletic, jack of all trades looking guy. So, our tight end room is not necessarily the envy of the league. So if he can come on and be something kind of special here down the road, I think that puts us at a really, really advantageous spot as far as what we can do with our personnel on the field.
I totally agree with what you're saying. We obviously went after offensive weapons in the draft. Looks like they're potentially hits. I know it's a little too early to say that, but let's see how we do against Kansas City week 1 and see where we're at. AFC West.
I mean, Slater, there's no sugarcoating the Slater injury. As much as you want to say next man up, it's devastating, and I'm still not over it. It just creates this domino effect they're giving the lip service of that's why you draft Joe All. We got him. He's going to move back to left tackle, but our strength was having them both out there. Yes. And now that is gone. And our interior line isn't good to begin with. So it's one of those things where you just sort of close your eyes and pray that people overperform, because We need Herbert standing tall. He hasn't been the last couple of years, and he's been hurt and less effective than he should be. So
yeah, and Mekhi Becton being back out in practice was a really nice thing to see after almost 3 weeks being out. Hopefully he can teach Trey Pipkins a thing or two about how to keep that right side solid. So for the rest of the AFC West, prediction wise, last year we finished 11-6. The shitty ass Raiders finished 4-13. Broncos 10-7, and the Chiefs 15-2. Where do you have the AFC West sorting out this year?
Yeah, I'm going to keep the Chiefs at the top, but I think there's going to be a natural regression with those one-score games. So I still think you can chalk up the Chiefs for 12-5, 13-4, just off pure pedigree. I would love to say that we're going to overtake them, but until I see that with my own two eyes, us knowing how to win those games and the Chiefs showing signs of slowing down, I'm going to put us actually tied with the Broncos for second. I'm going to put us both at 11-6. Yeah, the Slater injury really hurts, and we needed that as a strong point in our offense.
Yeah.
And before I see that ripple effect and what it does to our whole entire team, I'm not gonna sit in the pocket of optimism that I was before the injury. All right, so I'm gonna have the Chargers and Broncos both at 11-6. The Broncos, they've got a lot of pieces, and basically if Bo Nix is good, if Bo Nix is the guy that was running around back half of last year, then they're going to be good. Their defense is better than our defense, and I think everyone would admit that, and that matters. So put them both at 11-6. And Raiders, I don't know. They've got some talented pieces, but I would guess 6 or 7 wins for them. Honestly, I haven't checked out their schedule. It's not in front of me, but I would guess that they have a pretty easy schedule going for the last place schedule. And so, yeah, give them 7 wins.
I like that. I wouldn't give them 7 wins, but everything else, I'm right there in line with. I might actually have us at 10, but everything else sound. Moving on from our trust in the Chargers, we've got respect for the fantasy football gods. And part of my process this year in pleasing the gods, back to your mentioning of random luck, I went and if I could rip this thing out in real time here.
No, it's lost in space. Oh, there you go. Hold that,
if you can see, I have purchased something you can barely even see. I'll put it next to my face, and holy smokes, this thing's bad. But it is a magazine, and inside is potentially one of 12 golden tickets that will provide me a lifetime subscription to the highest tier of the football guys. So live out in space.
Hold on. What is the highest tier of the football guys? What does that include?
No idea, but it's probably better than the worst tier.
I would assume so. Those are some good-looking guys. Real quick, before you look for the golden ticket, which of those guys would you want most on your team?
Which of these guys do I want in real life or in fantasy?
Fantasy.
In fantasy? Oh, it's got to be Chase.
At their current value.
At their current value? I go Gibbs at the current value.
Thought you would.
If I was doing Snake, I'd go Chase, but in auction, I'd go Gibbs. All right, so live for the people, golden ticket. We'll see.
I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket.
Yeah. I don't think I got the golden ticket.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I will tell you it. You deserve it.
Thanks. It smelled good. It looks good. I'm interested to hop into this thing. I'm getting ready to unplug.
That's a good color palette. By the way, good color palette on that magazine with the 4 guys. It looks really nice. All of them next to each other.
Yeah, I think as of this recording, there's about 100 copies left. So if you guys want one, $19.99, and it'll be yours.
So tickets going around. How do you know when the tickets are gone?
Oh, I think everybody's going to be announcing it. Like the Charlie and the Charlie factories. I would have ran out in the street and started yelling had I caught one of those golden tickets.
Who's your favorite out of the 3 football guys? Are there 3?
There's a lot of them, but of the core guys, Cecil, Amy, and Sigmund Bloom are the 2 guys that I like the most. And on that note, let's continue on to more fantasy football till death featured content. Thomas, as the strongest player in the league, what's left to improve?
Well, that's a robust statement. I will deflect that, and I'll just talk on what's left to improve. Okay. For me, I'm dying to nail the draft. I'm I want a flawless draft, and I feel like I've had some good ones of late, but whether it's drafting guys that are maybe too injury prone or just swinging and missing on the elite guy that's supposed to be league changing, I want to get it down because I feel like I'm scrambling too much. And as much as I like being active, I don't like scrambling as much as I do. I'd like a more chill, at least initial part of the season, just reap the fruits of my good draft labor.
To me, that shows great self-awareness. Again, it's not to say that you're a weak drafter by any means. I think you're a very strong drafter, especially late. But if there was, from my perspective, any juice left to squeeze, which there's very little at this point, that would be just, chopping up that first 4 to 5 pieces. And again, selfishly, I like a slightly more conservative spending of those top dollars. And I'm interested to see what you do this year, if you're going to mix it up or just go punch your chicken to the playoffs with the.
I tried last year. I only spent 61 on Brees. At the time, I felt like that was a good value. He just sucked. So I wish I had spent 61 on Bijan, but you move on.
Yeah, you do. And speaking of moving on, transactions. The Think Piece, you gave a little bit of your thoughts on the other podcast or on the Fantasy Football Till Death podcast. What else do you have to say about the Think Piece, Thomas?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the data focus side of the Think Piece, right? Not Griffin's. Yeah. But, I agree. And Sam and I touched on it. I agree with the core 100% of what you're saying. The principle. I don't know if there's a certain metric associated with it, and I think that's a data deep dive that may need 15, 20 years to examine. But I also think that goes and it synergizes with the team composition, the draft strategy, right? It's part of what I spoke about a couple of podcasts ago, where like my personal strategy is part of wanting to fill out those starters and maybe a bench guy or two that are playable, but then leave the rest open is I want to have that chance to sort of be active with the bottom of my roster. And that's going to directly impact transactions, right? And someone like Luke, the way he's drafted to that, like he doesn't have space really to act that way. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be more proactive with your pieces early, right? And I think we talked about it, but for me, when it comes to activity and transactions, either you have this really strong top to bottom roster and you're constantly examining on how to improve it and not resting on your laurels, like you just act as soon as you can, or you have a roster that maybe has some weak spots and you're constantly adding and dropping to try to find that golden nugget, 1 or 2 steps ahead of your fellow league mate. So that's how I see the approach. It's kind of 1 or 2 ways based on how you build out your roster post-draft.
Yeah, I see that as well. So like and I would put Casey in the other bucket too with Luke / Dom about just being completely inactive for the rest of the league, the rest of the year, right? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure half of their 3 or 4 transactions were their buy for their defense, right? And like they had to pick up another guy. But like specifically with the Dom Luke pairing, right? I'm fairly certain at this point that Dom is aware that Luke is just going to absolutely ship the season, right? So he needs to build a full roster so that all he has to do is just tell him which one to start, right? And with Casey, he's got his $15,000 machine that tells him what to do, and he's just running around. He's running circles around us, right? So like just taking a quick peek at the rolling 3 average for the year, right? I think that's a pretty fair way to kind of rank managers, right? And again, selfishly, you and I having points scored records in consecutive years does tend to put us up a little bit there, right? But just to read through the top 6 is you're at the top, I'm right there behind you, Dom's draft, and then whatever Luke does, and then Spring's number 4, Casey's number 5, and then we have Father Ben at 6, right? So to me, that represents a very solid top half of the league. I think you can make a pretty good argument for any 6 of those guys for having to run things every year. And then the bottom half, I think you can kind of pick apart. Maybe they had a bad year, or maybe it was just something to do with their managerial styles. But the transactional bit, right? I have completely forgotten what you said, so I'm just going to skip back to the ads.
Moral of the story is about being proactive at all times. No matter what strategy you employ, there's always an element of being proactive that you can, if you're really locked in and trying to do all you can engage in that can potentially upgrade your team, or just start the brain, like start the little pieces coming together, right? If you have a strong roster, there's always a way to improve it.
Yes.
And not waiting, just going for it.
Thank you for tying that together. Proactive is a good way to put it. There's always room for improvement. And if you don't have room for improvement, then there's something wrong with you, not something wrong with the process. So I like that. Just because I'm going to list off the 5 things not to do again, and we'll let you respond to them. So 5 things to do / Tom, please don't do this. League, trade with Brendan before Palm does. 2, color up for elite players and trades. 3, get the best player in a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-2 trade. 4, add players off free agency. 70, again, is probably assuming that we have some inactives like Casey and Luke. And I crunched a couple numbers, and I think 55 is probably a better number, assuming everybody's active. But I don't expect our players to change too much year over year. So I think 70 is a good ballpark for this year. And then I'm still a big believer of swinging for the fences with Bab on that same idea, right? There's only a handful of players that you can pick up every year. Why not swing big? So one more time from the top, what do you got to say?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things that people can do can just make a better concerted effort on is that fab piece.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this on the pod, so this is kind of me reiterating. I don't know if you got to that section of the pod yet, but Sam was saying that tends to lean more cautiously with the spending with the fab. And, I said my opinion on it is, listen, if you swing, especially in the first half of the season, if you hit, you have that many more weeks to reap your reward for swinging and hitting. If you don't, you have tons of time to figure it out. If you don't spend your fab early because you are saving it for some big ticket item, that's just as risky because there could be 3 or 4 other managers that are doing the same. There's no guarantee that you're going to get whatever that player is anyway. So you might have saved it all for nothing. So, and it's not just the giant ones, it's the little ones, right? Like last year I got Jared Goff, I think for $2, like off the waiver wire, maybe it was $1. Like, spending money even on little things. If you think maybe, just maybe, they have a chance to improve your roster, who cares about that few extra dollars? If it's someone middling, if you think that the next closest person to you might spend 10, spend 20. Like, just lock it in. Make sure you get that guy. If he's going to help your team, he's going to help your roster, spend the extra money. It doesn't have to be spending 80 when you think someone else is going to spend 60 or 50. Any range, just go get it.
Yeah. Proactive, right? The antithesis of the other 2 players you were saying, that if you save your money and you got Luke and Casey that have $95 left over, what does it matter anyways? You're not even get the defense you want from week 13, 14, right? So spend early, spend often, be proactive. Don't wait. We have inactives that are gonna make the waiting game meaningless.
100%.
Let's take a step forward to the couch, where we'll start off by talking about Mr. Ricky. I got shot in the ribs. Pearsall, ranked at wide receiver 42, roughly $9. Is he the best wide receiver option or value in San Francisco right now?
Might I add before we get to this section, I mentioned this as Kendall's therapy on the podcast. I had no idea that this section was called On the Couch. That was completely coincidental. And I feel 100% validated for making that analogy.
So. Yeah, you nailed it.
Anyways, Ricky Pearsall, best option in San Francisco. I think hype, buzz, everything is pointing towards Ricky Pearsall right now. He's got a great connection. So it seems with Brock Purdy, I think he is a great pick, especially at value for what you can get out of him. I'm not done with Juwan Jennings, though, as far as being the guy that I would rather have. There's obviously been calf stuff, but at the same time, there's contract stuff. And typically those 2 things are related. So I think if they can figure out the contract stuff somehow, some way, the calf thing will be a little bit better. And when Juwan was playing without Ayuk, there's no Debo anymore. He's liable to make big plays. He's liable to be that go-to guy. So I think they're both great options, but I'd like to see how this contract situation plays out with Juwan. And if that settles, he would be the
Yeah.
wide receiver that I am looking to draft over Pearsall.
All right, so let's say the Juwan Jennings contract gets resolved, and it is indeed just a contract calf issue and not a real calf issue. Ricky Pearsall did have a hammy issue early in camp. Does that injury factor into your decision to take Juwan over that, or is just a healthy calf Juwan your guy?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the way that I'm looking at those kind of receivers is just assuming clean bill of health. And there's enough time now before the start of the season where, especially at the value that you'd be getting at or getting them at, that I just wouldn't even really consider that. I would be thinking like, hey, if they're healthy, what are they going to look like in that San Francisco offense? I think there's going to be some Kittle, Pearsall similarities as far as like where they are on the field. And so I'll take that guy in Juwan because I think Kittle's going to dominate touches. And I didn't even see that on your show sheet, but I think the next question was about Kittle.
Well, and I hope the viewers at home just saw my eyes perk up when you mentioned Kittle, because Kittle is the apple of my eye. And at tight end number 3 at roughly $28, the new donator to the Operation Freedom Paws to the tune of $5 million, he has opened up a dog sanctuary to start his 2025 season. Is Kittle just the fucking right answer this year? Is there any other tight end you'd rather have than Kittle?
I mean, me personally, yes. But that's just more of me being scared from some of the wear and tear on Kittle. There's a part of me that's just terrified with how many targets he gets, how involved he is in the run game, as well as the pass game. He likes to level the wood on guys. So if I had to make a call between like Kittle, Bowers, McBride, I might choose one of those other 2 guys over Kittle just by a smidge. And if all 3 of them played 17 games, then I probably would take Kittle if I knew that crystal ball. But yeah, I mean, he's just the man, best tight end on the planet, National Tight End Day, member of Tight End University. And yeah, he's got some karma on his side. I didn't know that about the dog sanctuary, so maybe I'll have to reevaluate where I have him in my rankings.
Oh, I hope you do, because like I said, best tight end on the planet. He's just the man, the joyful warrior we all love to go to battle with. He's sick. He's great. Christian McCaffrey, a little bit less clarity on him at RB4, roughly $39, which I'm assuming that's going to be way higher in our league. Where are you at with Christian? Is he going to be a value? Is he going to be one of those inflection points in the draft for you? How are you looking at CMC this year?
Oh my gosh, this guy! I've actually never drafted CMC, and it doesn't. The idea of me drafting him doesn't sit well with my gut of what he would do to me. But what sits really well is looking at all your values that you have associated with some of these players. Because if I could get CMC for $39, $40, that clarity, it would be like I took a limitless pill and I could see everything with 40-20 vision, and I knew how to operate this fantasy game 100 steps ahead. I would take CMC at $39, 100 out of 100 times, twice on Sunday. So I don't know where he's going to go, but I would assume he's going to make it up there, maybe $5 to $10 less than like the Gibbs of the world. And I would assume that's probably like 50, 55, at which case I'll be somewhat nervous, but he's either gonna contribute to a doomed season or he's gonna win you the league. I know you and Graham touched on it. I'm right on the same page. If he's healthy, I want that guy on my team. That's the biggest mystery of the last few years in fantasy football.
Yeah, double kill is not great. But again, who knows? Another thing we might not know anything about is Matthew Stafford's back. His ranking is probably irrelevant. Are you concerned about his weapons this year?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm concerned for Matthew Stafford. Yes, 100%. He's too old to have a bad back. I guess he's been in practice the last couple days to some extent, but everything that I've been hearing is it might be like a lingering issue throughout the season, which means pain management, which means, you're not letting it fly without thinking a little bit. And I think for quarterbacks, when you're overthinking, that's when your mechanics don't become fluid, and that can result in some, not just re-injury risk, which is going to be high, but also maybe some a reduction in play quality. So Matthew Stafford, I'm worried about, and thus I'm worried about his weapons. Absolutely.
All right. So just as a show note, he's 37 years old, which I believe would make him the oldest member of this league. So back to that idea of
thank goodness.
Yeah, we can look up and see. Like, oh yeah,
like
we're not older than him yet. Pretty sure we're older than Jimmy G. So you're saying if Jimmy G's at the helm, will you be fading Puka if he's in like the 42 range, Devontae at like the $28 range, and Kyron at 30? Or how are you going to play that?
Yeah, I'm fading them all. If it's Jimmy G, I'm fading them all. The way that I'm gonna make Griffin Hunter really happy with this, but yeah, I want nothing to do with Jimmy G. I defended Jimmy G in one conversation with Griffin Hunter. He'll never let me live it down, but I'm backtracking on that combo. Griff. Yeah. I'm fading them all. There's just like fantasy is about risk and reward, right? There's no point in you taking a stab at these guys at their Matthew Stafford like value. If you have no idea what Jimmy G is going to do the offense, there's other pastures that you can go and start farming. So fading.
Got it. So I'm going to bring this back into the screen. Hopefully we can get some, because it's kind of there. We're going to go with it. Our top 3 running back tier, we got Saquon, Bijan, and Jamar Gibbs. Saquon coming off a historic season. He's also 5 years older than the other 2. Bijan's got the mysteriously drafted Penix, who seemed to have lifted the lid of the offense last year. And we've got Jamar Gibbs, who's an arguable certified fantasy stud that probably RB1 if Devon isn't there. How do you rank these 3 guys if they, let's say, all come in that mid-50s? Who would you be happy to see on your team, and how are you shaking out these 3 guys?
Yeah, I'd love any of these guys on my team at the right value, and I think the right value can be anywhere up to honestly like 65-ish. Personally, if maybe a little bit higher if you're really sold. My guy's going to be Bijan, and I just think the trajectory for him is just going up and up and up. Obviously, Saquon probably still the most talented guy, the most explosive home run ability. And that team is going to be great still. Offense is going to be moving the ball, a lot of touchdown equity. You just worry about the mileage a little bit. I'm not personally worried just based on last season, but Saquon has burned me a couple times in the past. He's also got me a ship. Saquon giveth, Saquon taketh away. But I'll probably slot him at 2. Jahmyr Gibbs. The talent alone, he might be better than all those guys, but there's just a little bit more in the way of question marks, right? Ben Johnson left. How's that going to impact the offense? More balls to feed on the outside. Offensive line, where does that sit? And then obviously Montgomery, if he's still involved, especially at the goal line, then it's going to capsize his upper echelon sort of fantasy appeal for me.
All right. I hear you. That's a lot to digest. And again, I got barely any of that. So we're going to talk about rookie running backs.
That's the life of a show host, Kendall. You're just keeping the show moving. You're keeping it pumping. Don't worry about my responses. Just continue on the track.
We're barely moving. Flew with the girls today back home from San Diego. So we're in Portland, and I'm still probably 3,500 feet in the air. I can't even do the damn metric conversion in real time. So fuck me, right? Rookie running backs. Who are you excited about?
Man, the hype train on these guys is off the charts, right? Like, if anyone follows any amount of fantasy content on social media or just online, I feel like it's the year of the rookie. I think there hasn't been someone in the last few days that's blown up quite like Mr. Bill. Do you know who Mr. Bill is?
No, I don't.
7th round rookie for the Washington Commanders. He's got
he's got 3. What's his face? Yeah.
Name. I honestly forget it.
TMC.
I've just been calling him Bill.
Yeah.
He's taking off like crazy with the hype train. But I mean, the guy that I'm like super, super excited to throw a bit on is Travion Henderson. He's just looked the part as Ohio State running backs do. They just know how to do it. And, kick return, even just running the ball. Who knows? They've always been weird with Ramondre. Like, I feel like he's been like really solid in a lot of instances, but also somehow in the doghouse at the same time, even when he didn't have a lot of competition. So I don't even think they know whether they like him or not. And Henderson just looks explosive. So I think he's going to be the apple of a lot of people's eyes. And then obviously you got RJ Harvey there, who everyone's screaming about. That backfield looks a little bit more up in the air. I think eventually he will emerge. But as far as like who you're going to get more value from right away, the guy I'm looking at is Henderson.
Yeah, Jacory Krosky-Merritt, and don't anyone bid on him because he's fine. I found him first. So Ben, that means you get fucked. I think Dobbins is a huge value again this year. I think that's one of those guys that spring probably shouldn't have shipped off so fast. And if my sources are correct, he was wined and dined by Sean Payton himself. That seems like a pretty good sign off on what he's going to be doing this year. And then, the New England stuff, still not fully sold on Drake May taking that next step and everything that's going on in Patriot land. I'm probably not going to be touching the backfield. But, I hear you. The Jacory Krosky-Merritt guy is definitely somebody I was tricking myself into thinking that I would somehow sneak in the late round without anybody figuring that out. But
the age of content, my friend.
Yeah,
everyone knows everything.
It washes over us. What else in the news, Tom, has washed over you that's caught your eye or made you rethink something in your fantasy stance this year?
Some of these wide receivers, dude, I'm getting kind of nervous. And I don't know how much is speculative, but, you hear about Jefferson Hammy. I mean, apparently he's going to be ready back at practice. But the guy that I'm kind of looking at, because I was having a change of heart about him after he kind of did me dirty last year, was A.J. Brown. And apparently he's got a little bit of a hammy situation. They just signed John Mechie, I believe. And I don't know. I don't like the tea leaves. He's a beast. I'm sure he'll be good soon. But, I was maybe considering him if I could get him at good value, just assuming that the Eagles would get him some more targets, because it is painful to watch Jalen Hurts throw the ball to him 5 times in a game when every metric that a receiver can excel in, he's top of that list in the league. But now I'm like, I don't know. It just, something doesn't sit right with me as of right now. Obviously, things can change.
Yeah, a little hammy issue with A.J. Brown. It just doesn't sit right. Or even Devontae Smith. It seems like those guys' hammies just pop off on a regular basis. And it's not one of those things that I'm looking forward to either. I was trying to think of one of those news pieces that was trickling in my mind as you were talking. And I'm going to keep going here for another 3 or 4 seconds and see if it pops back up. Oh, the Houston backfield. So we got Mixon, who just mysteriously doesn't have a foot. Chubb apparently over the hill. And fucking Pierce, maybe. Do we see a trade there? Are they going to bring Pierce in? Because it doesn't really feel like they have a live back right now, does it?
Yeah, I think I don't know. That's another one that I'm probably avoiding just in general, not putting too much thought into it. I think Chubb isn't a bad pick just to see if he's got a little bit of juice left. But ultimately, I do still think, like, if you want to take a stab at someone, if you can get Mixon for cheap, like, there's a lot of upside there. I expect the Texans offense to be better than it was last year. And so as long as he can get that foot reattached, I think he can provide a lot of value.
All right. So on a scale of the Texans last year to what Jay thought they were going to be last year, where do you think the Texans are going to be this year?
Well, I mean, you're not going to be able to track my hand, but what Jay thought they would be last year is in another room over. It's knocking Beckham's head in his crib. So
somewhere out there.
I would say more right in the middle here.
Okay, right in the middle. Yeah, Nico. I get frothy in the mouth when I think about Nico. Again, I don't think he'll fall to the range where I'll get him, but he gets me very, very excited.
What's the range? What does that mean? The range that you'll get him?
The range that I'll get him, I'm probably not going to be spending over $50 on a single player this year, and I would imagine that Nico is going to creep up pretty healthily into the 50s. But we'll see. Again, I've been preaching the good word of moderate. That's another word for being moderate that I can't think of right now. Just taking the middle path with things, right? That it's okay to get hyped up and to have all those big feelings at the beginning of the draft. And it's okay if the room's a little hot, kind of jump in there, go get your guy. But probably don't grab 2 or 3 of those guys that are overpriced. I think it's okay to just overspend a tad at the beginning, but it's one of those things that myself and Dom will be reaping at the back half of the draft and just filling out our rosters in a way that's just going to launch through everybody else's roster. And, back to your earlier points of activity, being proactive, I'm still going to be trimming the bottom of my roster. I'm still going to be adding players. I'm hoping that I'm going to be that one guy that lands one of those 2 or 3 fab guys and be adding those pieces as my season goes on. And as we all start losing pieces, I'll have that depth to pop back up and, maybe just maybe have one of those magical years where some of those 20, 30 guys end up popping off and just screaming up the board and giving you that ability to do that. So that was a kind of long-winded way of saying, I think it's not a surprise to say that our league is historically overspent at the top. And in a kind of obtuse way when we first got started, I think 80s is kind of a ridiculous way to spend money in any sense or fashion. But yeah, back to your original question, Nico, probably not gonna be on the squad, probably not gonna see a 50 ball from me. If lag gets up in the 50s, I might just for kicks hit 51. But I will be praying to the fantasy gods to not do me dirty and hope that Evan hits that 52.
Where do you think, how many players do you think go for 50 plus?
50 plus. I don't have my rankings on my person, so I don't have like a round number for you. But I think it's actually a lot smaller.
Let me just rephrase this.
Yes.
How many, if you're looking at a normal snake sort of ADP style,
Yeah.
how many of at what point in the rankings of how many players down the rankings do you think you get into the low 40s, mid 40s?
Okay, so it happens pretty fast. I think it's usually I got some
12,
rankings,
like 10 to 12 guys in.
Yeah. So if we're ranking players by cost, I think it's actually as soon as 11 that you start dropping into the 40s, and so it's really not so much that I'm saying no to those first round talents as I'm just saying no to like the first top 6 receivers and top 6 running backs.
Right.
Probably not going to see those guys on my squad unless somebody, again, like ridiculous CMC falls, right? Maybe, but I doubt that he's going to be falling to the sub 50 range. So
are you coming in with a game plan, a value-based game plan for position for rosters or roster spots on your team? Like you're going to spend X amount of your budget on wide receivers, X amount of your budget on running backs, and just see how the dice how the dice fall?
Yeah, so I'll probably have a rough game plan, but the idea is to be like water and to be fluid and to go with the flow of where the overspending is happening. And so I'm still going to be focused on wide receiver and probably more wide receiver depth, right? Like I want my wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4 to just be crushing years, right? And I want my wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 to have that like high upside ceiling, but maybe not the proven commodity, right? And so I'm going to be banking on those guys hitting. And then I am still playing around with kind of what to do with running back this year, because I do like the dead zone a lot this year as well. And so I can see myself getting like I think Chase Brown's probably a little rich and Cook's probably a little rich to be my hero, and then just completely shipping the position. And then if I do that, I'll grab, one of the dual threat quarterbacks or one of the tight ends. But I am starting to think I'm not going to get the tight end as much as I love Kittle, because I think they're going to probably get into 20s, high 20s, maybe 30s. And, if I could somehow scrape somebody for like low 20s, I might go for that. But a lot of it is just up to how the draft rolls out. And so in theory, right, not in practice. Last year, a lot of things went out the window as soon as that first nomination was made. But in theory, that's the goal this year.
Perfect. Just want to get a little insight into your draft strategy, but sorry for derailing the show sheet.
No, on that note, let's get into Field or Fuck It. And we're going to keep the pace going here. So, Shir Sanders, is he going to start at some point this year?
Maybe through injury. I think Shadir Sanders is a talking point that's so overblown. We should just delete it off of this show sheet and save him for another date.
All right, we'll say fuck it then. Harold Bandit Jr.
Okay, do it over this time. Still say it. I got such high this to do it.
He's a 10+ dude. Harold Bandit Jr., is he going to be fantasy relevant this year? Is he going to make David Njoku at tight end 8 for roughly $10 not be worth your money?
Oh no, F it, dude. Fannin, I wouldn't even. Don't even commit him to your. Don't commit any emotion or any intellectual bandwidth to memorizing Harold Fannin. I mean, Joke is the guy, and Joe Flacco likes to throw Joke with the ball.
Yep.
That's a target of mine for sure.
Okay, got it. Preseason stats, if they mean anything. I'm thinking about Todd Brooks. He had a shitty 26 yards on 10 carries. Are you going to be tossing the buck on him or guys that have bad games?
I could care less about preseason stats, honestly. I 100% care less. They're looking at vanilla schemes, vanilla defenses.
Yep.
People are just trying to get in there, get some good tape, and get out healthy. So, no, I don't pay any attention to preseason stats.
All right, Sean Tucker, does he go for more than $1? Or does he even get drafted this year?
Yeah, he'll get drafted, and I think he's worth it. Yeah, he's definitely worth it at the bottom of the roster. I think Rachaad White is not necessarily he's going to fade away into obscurity, but it's Bucky season, my godson, Bucky Irving. And I think the more touches that he gets, the better the Bucks will be. And so I think the biggest loser in that situation is Rachaad White. So, yeah, I think he's worth it.
Yeah, see you later, dude. Trey Lance, does he have a future in the league?
Yeah, I'm feeling it, by the way.
All right, feeling it. What about Trey Lance? We feeling or fucking that guy?
I mean, maybe if Herbert goes down and he comes in and then does some Josh Dobbs on the Vikings last couple of years ago sort of magic, but dude, he's done. So F it. I mean, I wish him the best, and I hope he's a solid QB2 for us. He uses his legs and can make some stuff happen that they didn't game plan for. But as far as the future, F it, yeah. Is
QB13 JJ McCarthy going to make managing TJ Hawkinson a roller coaster?
No, I don't think so. I think Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. I think they've got a good system. They've got some weapons, and I think, especially for young QBs, a really good tight end is your best friend. So I think TJ, as long as he can stay healthy, will be productive in that offense. I don't think JJ is going to bring him down, so I'm feeling it.
All right. And for the people, I'm going to pick up the pace here just a tad. So if we just feel it or fuck in a few words, and then we'll get into space time. Kyler Murray, QB8, $13. Can you support 2 top 20 wide receivers or receivers?
F it, man. I'm not banking on it, so F it. Right. I think McBride, but F it.
Yeah, Saints offense will have a top 15 weapons besides Alvin Kamara at $22.
F it, dude. I got 2 names for you: Spencer Rattler and Tyler Schaff.
All right, say later, Olave. QBs turn analysts. Is this good for the NFL?
If they're good, yeah. See Tony Romo in his prime, but yeah, they got to be good, or else it's kind of corny.
Yeah, get Brady off my fucking screen. Keenan Allen, wide receiver 56. Is he going to be a fantasy relevant option this year?
I don't think so. F it. I think he might be worth the stream start, but I don't think he's a guy that you're looking to start every week.
Okay, so follow up. Do you see him as a slot, or are they going to move him around a little bit more this year?
I'm feeling him getting moved around. I don't think that him and Ladd are going to be put in a box. I think they can play both ways, and I think when they're on the field at the same time, they create mismatch nightmares. We got 1-double-1, so.
I'm feeling Keenan all day long, by the way. Amari Hampton, RB18, $21. Is he locked up as RB1 for the Chargers this year?
Yeah, feeling that for sure. I think so. I mean, he's the future. Najee's not going to be there long term, so I think he'll be a great compliment, and I think this early work helped him.
All right, comment on guy. Is he going to overtake Roschon Johnson? Much to the chagrin of Hunter.
This is so far down the rabbit hole. This is definitely the weeds, but the little that I've heard about him, I'm going to say I'm feeling it, and he seems like he's more explosive.
I love it. Jackson Dart, is he going to get a start by week 6, maybe earlier this year?
Nah, F it. It's not going to happen. I think if Dayball wants to win and management is kind of tough on him about wins, then he'll ride Russell as long as he can.
Yeah, he's definitely going to ride to Broncos country week 7. I think that there might be enough money in that game that they're not going to allow them to start Dart. So, yeah, I fuck that. Graham Simmons, is he going to be making the finals threatening for a 3-peat this year? Field or bucket?
Man, I love you, Graham. That's very hard to do. So I'm gonna say F it. I hope for if he makes it, then I only have 50. One less slot for me. So I'm gonna say no. That would be incredibly impressive if he did. Define all odds.
Yeah, narrow path that man walks. What hopefully isn't a narrow path is the path to space-time. We're sticking with health, Thomas. We can go mental, physical, spiritual, and as a fellow father, if you want to throw in what health looks like to a new father, let's go with health, Thomas. What does the word health mean to you today?
I think all those things. And I think more importantly, it's about having self-awareness and understanding what you need, understanding the ways that you need to fill your cup.
Mhm.
And for me, that self-awareness really shows itself through communication with my spouse, right? I think sometimes as men in relationships, we hide away and push away our mental. We prioritize ourselves way down the rung on the ladder, especially for those of us that have like high achieving type A women, right? You want to be there for them. You want to support all the initiatives they have going on in their head. You want to be a super dad, right? The dad comes in with it as well. And
Yep.
all our feelings, we just push lower, lower. And so something that I've been trying to do a lot of late is really communicating how I'm feeling, trying to put my emotions on an equal playing field with my families, right? Especially when you bring in the baby, super
Yeah.
important. It's you got to take care of the Beckham at all times. You got to feed, you got to entertain, you got to keep them on the schedule, you got to research, and then happy wife, happy life, right? So then you're just trying to keep your wife, who's dealing with all these things, especially postpartum and all this, on an equal playing field. So being able to communicate how I'm feeling, so that I can let her in and be my spouse and be there for me,
Yeah.
and give me what I need emotionally and interpersonally, has been something I've been trying to work on as much as I can. It's hard as guys to do that.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. So with what you were saying, the first thing that came to my mind was, where's the time for yourself, right? So like that's one of the things. Now as a double dad, but very much as the dad to Chloe, it was one of those things that it already felt like there was not enough time in the day to take care of her, let alone be there for Mel, or let alone be there for myself, right? So that first year with Chloe was a big year where I started to do some of what you're talking about, putting that self-care first internally at that level, so that I had that kind of connection with what was going on with me. And then kind of as that year melted on, it percolated out to other parts of my life, mainly just Mel and Chloe. But the time that it took to do that was something that didn't really like make sense as I was getting into it. So where do you find time in your day to do like that self-care, or are you just already connected? Because again, like you and I are pretty different emotional critters. So is just that connection to your emotions something that comes more naturally to you, or where do you get the time to process those emotions?
Yeah, I think the emotional, I think emotional bandwidth, and I mentioned self-awareness. I think
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily tie it strictly to like EQ or emotional intelligence, but being able to like grasp how you're feeling and understand your actions and how they impact others, and also have a really good understanding of how others are feeling, like that whole sort of cycle and realm, something that I felt like I've had a pretty firm grasp on. But
Mhm.
just because you have a handle on it doesn't mean you're taking care of yourself. And so like as far as carving out time,
Yeah.
I think this ties for sure into the physical part. For me is like obviously working out's been a huge part of my life. And when it came to building our family here with Jess, I think that was something that I established. Like I don't ask for a ton as far as like what I need emotionally or even reassurance wise, even through the ways of like love languages. But I love having that time
Mhm.
to go work out in whatever capacity that is. I can have that time to myself. It just kind of it balances me. It brings me to a good state. It makes me feel good about myself, right? And I think what's hard as you get older and there becomes all these objects of comparison flying around you at all times, is really to find the things that you feel good about yourself for, right? And it's
Yeah.
just really easy, especially as a guy, to just like, man, I'm not good enough in this way, that way, or the other. And so finding good habits and instilling them in your life and sticking with them, I think is so important, because it
Yep.
gives you that endorphin rush. It gives you that like that mental connection with your confidence and your sense of self, and it helps your your security level. So for me, working out is a huge part of it. And then it just getting better, just making an active sort of approach of trying to be better, like with figuring out what I need, because it's changed over time. You know, I didn't need as much, I think, earlier, and now since being a dad, like it's been hard. There's challenges that I didn't think that I was gonna have to navigate with such like nuance emotionally, that now I'm like, dang, I was not ready for how much of myself I was going to lose through the process of fathering Beckham, and now not just being a husband and a dad. And so being open to help and conversation and learning more and trying to be flexible with yourself emotionally has been just really important to stay top of mind, to not be rigid, not beat yourself up when you're feeling down, to get all the encouragement you can from those around you and just soak it all up. I think it's been really, really important for me personally.
Yeah, it extracts a heavy toll, right? It's one of those things for sure. I can relate to that sentiment in the first year. You know it's going to be a lot, but experience is a different teacher than knowledge, right? And so sleep deprivation, right? The trying to keep your emotions in check, you know, in the middle of the night when babies are screaming, and trying to continue that relationship with your partner as the chaos of the baby is going on, right? It takes a heavy toll. And I was trying to figure out a good segue because for whatever reason, social media kept popping up when I was listening to you, because that's one of the things in my life that I've struggled with, like in an addictive type of way, right? And particularly, again, on this baby/dad thing, that there's that ability to compare yourself to just the wide world of, you know, every dad or, you know, mom who's got a filter and, you know, some time, you know, behind the camera. So just to start it off, right? So like I've probably been off Facebook for how many years? Like, I'm not sure. Instagram is one of those things that like I try not to touch, but there was like a period for early in Chloe's life where I just wouldn't touch it because the social media death scroll is like a real thing for me. And then I'm currently lying to myself about YouTube shorts, right? that they're not like the exact same copy for TikTok. And TikTok was another one of those things that like within a month, I was just death scrolling for like hours on hours and hours. And it just had complete like control over me. And so what's your relationship to like social media these days? When again, we can stick with like the father stuff, or we can kind of do a little fork here and just say social media all by itself.
Yeah, social media. So I was kind of similar in the sense that like for me it was more of like a time grab. Like a time grab, doom scrolling, pretty synonymous, I think. But yeah, Facebook haven't been on for a long time. I've never actually downloaded TikTok, so you know, haven't been huge there. And then you know, I've just tried to make a concerted effort not to be on Instagram all that much. I would notice myself more like with work, like in between tasks, sort of doing it, but when it comes to being around like Jess and Beckham, I think having Beckham has been really beneficial for the screen time, because I'm trying not to be on my phone when I'm around him. And then the only time that I'm not around him, he goes to sleep. And that's like a very small window for Jess and I to be together. And I try to like lead by example with not really being on my phone so much. So social media, thankfully, hasn't been like a big issue, but it also hasn't been football season for a while. And now that football is back, that's where the content I want to see really becomes prevalent. So I don't want to speak too soon, but I've definitely been a little bit on my phone a little bit more in the last few weeks.
Oh yeah, it's coming. And what also is coming is the tie that I have between those two things. So so like back to the social media and the fathering stuff, right? So I knew that social media was terrible, and I was just dead tired. But as soon as Chloe would go down, I'd just find a way to have that thing sneak up to my face. And then I needed that hour or two of sleep, but yet I was throwing it away. And then just to your point, right, if I'm being fully honest, you know, I've been the primary caretaker for both Chloe and Amelia in their lives. And that's been a hot button issue, is my phone usage, right? And I'm very much still in the middle of that. I'm on my phone pretty much always listening to a podcast, right? As you guys can tell in the group chat, I have way too much stuff to go on. And I think there's like some aspect of like neurodivergence where there's something about my brain that just likes to be tickled from multiple directions at the same time. But then there's also a very real like addictive, hey, I don't have the ability to put something down part to it. And so if I'm being fully honest, I don't think I've got great control of my phone usage in front of the girls. And one of those things that's like an active area of research in the land of Ken. So I'm happy to hear that that's not a active area of research in the land of Thomas.
Well, also you got to have some grace for yourself. Like you being a primary caretaker of 2 kids, it's got to be incredibly hard. And you're doing the Lord's work, and I'm sure Mel is so like happy to have you. But that's a huge drain. I mean, I mentioned even with like a normal full schedule, also taking care of Beckham, you're like it's siphoning from your own self, your own identity, right? So being the primary caretaker with 2 and having that be your main job, I can see how having some sort of outlet to distract you from that being everything that you're doing all day, every day would be really would be enticing to you, right? To have that, because everything else is centered around the kids, having your phone open sort of distracts you a little bit, makes you feel like you're doing something for yourself, something that you want to do. I think there's all these different factors at play. So definitely give yourself grace for that.
Yeah. And they're just so present. They're just these present little critters that are always in that moment. And it's one of those things that it's just like, it boggles my mind that we all start off as these fresh little present critters that are absorbing everything, and all those little connections are going on. Right. And then again, I hear on the grace part, right? But that just in my head, right? It's like the drive-in movie theater that doesn't exist anymore. And it's just like colors flashing, right? And my eyes are just peeled open, and I have no control over what's going on. And then here you have these like,
hey, I don't know if you've explored, and there's a lot of a lot of different variations of ADHD medicine, things for like neurodivergent people that are much less powerful or impactful than like your Ritalins or your Adderalls. So something to take a look at.
Yeah, and just as a quick rundown on that, right? So I have tried to get diagnosed for ADHD, and it was like inconclusive. My history was positive, but they did some other focus test, and it was not so positive. And then on the drug side, I've looked into the drugs. I don't want to do stimulants because every stimulant that I've ever done, I've overdone. And
well, that's what I'm saying. There's some that's like not stimulant based.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that is probably 6 months, 12 months in the future. Getting the weight off and just trying to get healthy was another one of those things to see if I get my chemicals balanced. But from what I've read about ADHD, it is not one of those things that you can balance, right? That is just something off with the frontal cortex, and you just don't have the same ability to control your focus that others do. And that, like we found out with autism and things, that it's very likely a spectrum, right? It's not just kind of like an on or an off thing. That surprise, surprise, there's a big, beautiful universe out there, and there's every flavor of individual and brain out there. So I think with that,
a behavioral psychiatrist can prescribe you that. You don't need to be like clinically diagnosed by like a primary.
Oh yeah. The first psych that I went to was ready to write me a script that same day. And that was very much part of my hesitation in getting going with everything, because I got 10 people, I'll give it to you right now, and I was like, part of me really wants some of that stuff right now, like I could be really focused. I know I could, because I may or may not have found some of that stuff at different points in my life. So I hear you on that. It's available, maybe a little bit too available, and I'm trying to be metered on the.
They're like highway patrol with speeding tickets. Just like you have a quota of writing prescriptions that anyone they talk to. Big pharma.
Trying to do the slow doc, right? We make sure that we got all of our flight systems, integrated and synchronized, and we're going to do some kind of weird multi-socketed thing. It's going to be a slow, calculated process with lots of feedback from other, systems outside my own head. And so I stay tuned. 6 to 12 months, I might be drugged up. And again, try not to poke fun at it. I know that it's a real thing. And
congrats on the physical side. I mean, congrats on the weight loss. Congrats on trying to get into more of that exercise routine. It's super important. It's easy to fall out of that, and it's even harder to get back into it. So kudos.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go see my doctor, get a new PT routine, and we'll see about this weight stuff, because it's came off easy with chemicals. Looking forward to the muscle drug. But we're running just a tad over an hour, Tom. So do you have any final thoughts for the people?
Guys, listen to Kendall. He knows what he's talking about. All right. The guy is well educated. He's well practiced, and might I say, well practiced. So no, I appreciate you having me on, Kendall. I think it's a really cool side venture that you're doing. The background's been killing me this entire episode. I love it. I feel like I should have gone some sort of background route. I should have been in the spaceship that I did with Sam on our award show. Oh, blew it. Absolutely blew it. I did. Yeah. I appreciate the spotlight. It's very kind. I like the duality of, you being kind about my managerial skills, but also painting a huge target on my back. So keep at it. It's really fun. And just keep being you, man. Keep contributing to the league like you are. You're doing something here with this podcast that's a lot different than Sam and I are doing with the FF Till Death podcast. So it's a cool little yin and yang situation we got going on. But I was happy to bring my half of the FF Till Death podcast here. Hopefully I wasn't too verbose, and I stayed within the show sheet enough to make it worth it.
No, it was beautiful, Thomas. Thank you. This is a first for the league. Thomas has been at 2 podcasts in 1 week, and I appreciate you being the second guest on Out in Space, Thomas. It was great getting a little bit more in the weeds with you, and being in this space time with you was fun to get a little bit of insight into the dead life. And with that, in a universe empty or overflowing with star stuff, I'm glad to have shared this moment with you now. You are loved from here to fantasy football till death.